All right, good morning. It's nice to see you all. I always love the second day because it's like the first day of like, we're back and summer's over, it's done, and now we just get to get into the things and hopefully have like fun learning about sexuality. So a little more exciting today. I was gonna see really quick, before we get into chapter one, I have like a couple of things I want to do. The first is just to see, do any of you have any lingering questions at all about the syllabus? Anything from last time that I can answer that you're confused about? It's almost a Given I like to, for fun, ask you questions about the syllabus on the second day, just as like an opportunity to compete for candy one more time. It's prime candy time of the day. So if you downloaded the Kahoot app, if you want to open that, if you didn't download it, you could do that really quickly. You could join up with a neighbor if you don't have access to that technology. But I have a handful of questions that I'm going to ask you about the syllabus, just as a quick review and an opportunity to kind of reinforce a couple of things real quick. And if you get logged out at any point, I'll write the code up here. Everyone's surviving the first week. Ready for the weekend? It's always a harsh transition. I'll give you a minute to get logged in. And again, if you don't have access, you could partner up with somebody near you. Yeah. Are you not? Like, you don't have access to the... Oh, interesting. What's your last name? With a... Okay. Yeah, you were on the roster this morning, so that's odd. Because you should have access. I'm not sure why that would be. Maybe it's like a glitch at the moment or something, but... Huh. I'll give you another minute. It looks like got most of you. All right, so when we start here in a moment, I have 11 questions for you on things we talked about last time. And a few of you have had that a couple of times, so you should be pros, right? But they are either about the syllabus or about things I shared with you, just to kind of highlight them. You will be awarded points for speed and accuracy. Okay, so you want to be fast, but you want to be right. There's going to be usually four choices. There's a couple with only two. 4 choices, and you'll just pick the one that you think is correct as fast as you can. We'll have winners of each round and then some winners at the end, and I have candy for you. So everybody logged in, and if you get booted out again, here is the code. And then Cameron, if you want to join us too on there, like whenever you get logged in. All right. So here we go. And again, kind of a variety of questions, but things that are mostly important to remember, maybe a few that aren't as important, but here we go. So we'll give you 4 choices in a moment here. Okay, so question number 1. Starting easy, what is the name of this class? 4 choices. Correct. Hopefully this is an easy one, right? Okay, very nicely done. You know where you are. That's fantastic. I was an academic counselor for years, and people would so often be like, I have no idea what classes I'm taking, but like, don't ever let that be you. Know where you are, right? So very nicely done. Starting easy. See, Stratton, we're Stratton, right? Excellent. You're in the lead. Take him down. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that competitive. I always feel like I come across as competitive in this. I'm like, I'm really not, but okay. Number 2. What is the best way to get a hold of me? Who needs me? Right, email, perfect, right? So you're welcome to call me. Definitely can come meet with me, but I check my email, the most fastest and easiest way to get a hold of me. Ooh, new leader, where's Sam? All right, very nice. Okay, here we go, next one. It's close though, look, well, we got to 2 on the way up. Number 3, I have how many kids in total? Maybe not super important, but. And I was so nice. Look, I didn't give you the tricky answer as a possibility. Nine, right? Again, probably something you don't need to know. 9, including my cats. Only three two-legged ones. All right, let's see. All right, Sam's still in the lead. I like it. All right, here we go. Number 4. What is the name of our required textbook? All right, nice job. Sexuality Now, Embracing Diversity. How many of you have ordered it or have it? A lot of you, that's fantastic. Again, if you haven't done that already, make sure you get going on that. As I mentioned before, you don't need to bring it with you, but be reading it outside of class to kind of fill in those gaps of everything that we're covering. Let's see. Ooh, dog lips, right? Who's dog lips? Right, very nice, right? All right, took her down. I like it. Here we go. Next one. True or false? 50-50. You should come to class even if you aren't feeling well. Right. Don't come if you're feeling sick, right? Very nice job there. We all got that one correct. Okay, next. All right, let's see. Ooh, still in the lead. 2 pieces of candy. I like it. Okay. I love that, like, how he looks at you like I took you down. Right? Okay. All right, number 6. Our exams will be taken. 4 choices. Most of you got it fantastic on Canvas, right? So when we get closer to the exams, you'll have a study guide. We'll talk about them a lot, so you feel good about it. But they will be online, and on that day you won't come, right? You'll have the whole day to take it. I'm giving you the class time to take it on campus. Hopefully that means you all do fantastically on it because you can use everything at your disposal. Ooh, Cameron, new leader. I like it. Okay. Number 7. If you miss an exam, which of the following is true about making it up? Great. Okay, so most of you got it. Just a reminder, I am pretty strict about deadlines, but I do want you to be successful. If you know you're going to miss an exam, if something comes up on that day, reach out to me. If you reach out to me before a deadline, I will do anything I can to help you. After a deadline, it's going to be too late. So just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind as we start having things that are due. Okay. Ooh, Cameron again, but look, Sam, you have fire. Very excited. I don't know why, but okay. Number 8. Attendance and participation are graded by which of the following? Ooh, close. Okay. So these 10 random 10-point activities, and the index card is the first one. They'll often be things in class, but it might sometimes be a short homework assignment. So again, try and be here as much as you can. If you miss, reach out to a classmate or to me, and I'll help facilitate having a few people to reach out to in a few minutes. I'll never give you a pop quiz, right? So definitely show up, definitely respond, but it's those little activities that will earn you points. Ooh, are we up to 3 pieces of candy? I like it. Okay. Number 9, if you miss a participation exercise homework assignment, it can be submitted. Ooh, okay. So I'm glad this is why we go over it, right? Just to make sure. So if I give you a homework assignment that's due, say on Monday, and you're going to miss Monday, you can email it to me before the end of Monday's class and still get credit. Okay, so again, that importance of like before the deadline. So if you miss a homework assignment, let's say you weren't there, you can email it to me before it is due. Okay. Dog lips again, right? Hard to say that with a straight face. Okay. Number 10. How many homework assignments will you complete in this class? Not the participations, but homework assignments. Field trip. Fun assignment. 2, right? So these are the ones where you're either going to something like condom shopping, birthday shopping, an art project, something like that. Again, take a look at the menu, and if you ever have a cool idea, let me know. But there'll be 2 of these throughout the semester, and hopefully they're things that push you and are kind of fun to do. I hope they're fun to do. I mean, going to a sex shop for school credit seems like fun to me, right? Okay. All right. Look, you are on fire. Right. All right, last one, probably the least important, but that's okay. Who's my favorite football player? I shared it with you. One's not even a football player. This is my test of your like sports awareness. All right, Brady, right? I guess. I mean, now I'm kind of lost in the football world now, right? Ever since you retired. All right, so let's see where we fell at the end. We'll have like a podium here. 3rd place, Sam's. 2nd place, 7.
Should I need to get a count on foods?
Well, you need what? And then dog lives, right? What was that? Dog lives.
Should I need to get login account?
Well, we're done with it for today, so you don't have to worry about it today. But maybe for the future. Okay? So if you won any of the rounds, right, a lot in that back corner, power corner, come up and see me at the end for some candy, right? And again, just kind of a quick review to make sure that you're feeling like clear and good about everything. Any other syllabus questions? Anything else at all I can answer before we keep going along? If you think of anything at any point, you're always welcome to ask. So one more thing before we jump in, I want to talk just for a moment about note taking. Okay, and I mentioned this last time. I'm a big fan or big like supporter of note taking. And I imagine by now you all know what works for you or doesn't work for you, but just to make like a little pitch, when you're taking notes, not only are you looking at it, listening to it, but you're also writing it down. There's 3 different methods of encoding. It's going to make you more likely to remember. You can obviously take notes physically, you can take it on a piece of technology, whatever works for you. What you don't need to do is write down what's in the slide, right? Because the slides are on Canvas. Okay, so the stuff that's in the slide, don't worry about writing that down. It's anything else, right? So if I write something on the board, or I give you an example that's helpful, or I say, this would be a great short answer question, you could like circle it, star it, tattoo it, whatever, right? So it's that kind of stuff that you'll want to write down. I had a student a couple of years ago tell me that they did this, where they printed it in like a 3-slide format, and then they wrote here. Again, it's completely up to you, but like that was one thing that has been told to me many times. But I would recommend taking notes as a way to kind of help you with that just a tiny bit. If you have your syllabus, go ahead and pull it out. If you need another copy, I have some up here if you want to come grab one. But if you have your syllabus, and again, if you need one, I have some up. They're just right there, help yourself. Yep. Probably make your life easier. Oh, sorry, I hope I didn't get you there. Let's go.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, sure. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So on the second to last page, there's this little like chart that and as I was jokingly saying earlier, we tend to be creatures of habit. So a lot of you are kind of staking out your spots of where you're going to sit. You'll probably sit there like most of the semester or close to. A couple of you moved up a little bit, right? Which is good too. But what I want you to do is find a few people around you and exchange some information. Find out their name, get an email or a phone number, or like social media, like information, whatever you're comfortable sharing. But if you miss a class, your classmates are a great resource. Okay, so remember that everything's recorded, but you could get notes from them. You could say, hey, was there a homework assignment? They can help you and kind of communicate, maybe even study together, like whatever works for all of you. So I want to kind of give you something to start with. So find a couple of people around you, exchange some information, and then we'll go from there. I'll give you a few minutes to do that.
E aí, magari, very happy.
Yeah.
I don't think that's sexist. So.
I'll give you just another minute, then we'll move on. Yeah, yeah, you can put this little power right there. So if you don't have access by phone, like, I'm not sure who you would email. Let me see if I can find out anything about who you would email. So that's odd. We should be able to get onto Canvas.
I was wondering, because I even did I paid the.
Yeah, and you're on the roster. Like I just double checked it. So, yeah, that's strange. So yeah, if maybe send me an email, like if you don't by Friday, and I can see who I can reach out to help you out.
Yeah,
Okay?
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of course. All right, everyone get a couple of phone numbers, emails, whatever. The cheesy part of me wants to be like, you can go home and say that like people's information today. My kids would tell me not to say that. I said it anyway, but oh well.
No.
That's okay. Too late now. It already came out. I wrote one more number up here. Okay, they want us to share this with you. I try and remember to do it in my classes. Our security number. You see something like suspicious or odd, or it's a non-emergency, they want you to call the security number, which is our campus police. But obviously, if it's an emergency, 911, like you would think, right? So if something happens, like I hope nothing ever happens, but now you have it just in case. If I trip and fall and like hit my head, so call 911 for me, right? I'm clumsy right now. It's totally possible, right? Let's hope not. I nearly fell and wiped out in front of a movie theater of people yesterday. And it would have been like the worst part of my week. So it was dark in my defense, but who knows? So I just wanted to make sure that you have that just in case. Again, hopefully we never need it. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything else before we jump in to chapter 1? first slide. The first slide's exciting, the last slide's exciting too in its own sad way, right? But first slide of the semester. So we'll look at chapter 1 today and then next class. So we'll talk a little bit about like what is sexuality and then sexuality around the world. So what we're going to kind of do is just highlight a couple of different like areas of the world and how they've contributed to our modern sexuality here in the United States. And I have a really cool documentary that we'll watch on Monday about 20th century sexuality here in the US. Really interesting because it's changed so much over the last 100 years or so. So we'll kind of build up to that. And again, highlighting little things around the world that have shaped our culture. But first, let's define sexuality, right? This whole class is called human sexuality. So we're only focusing on that of humans, but we're looking at all of your feelings and behaviors concerning sex. So we're going to look at a bunch of topics. We're going to look at anatomy, look at gender, communication, love, intimacy, right? All sorts of different things related to sexuality. And hopefully, as a result of this class, your sexual intelligence will go up, right? Your kind of level of understanding of yourself and maybe terms that you use to define your identities and so on, your anatomy, for example, interpersonal skills related to sexuality, relationships, how we communicate, some stereotypical patterns that we tend to have, your scientific knowledge, right? So looking at what happens in the body. Well, what role do different hormones play? How is sperm produced, right? All these different things that we'll talk about over the semester. And then we'll always keep cultural context in mind as well, because culture plays a really big part in what shapes our sexuality and the sexuality around us. So just as kind of a point of fun, I think it would be kind of a fun thing to do. I tried this once or twice before and it was fun. We're going to do a little sexual intelligence quiz, right? Just for fun. So what I want you to do is get into groups of 2 to 3 people, right? Let's keep it nice and small. And send one person up. You're going to get a whiteboard, an eraser, and a pen. Okay, so 3 things, and they're all right here. And then double check that the pen works. If it doesn't, you can just toss it and come grab another one. But groups of 2 to 3 people, grab one of each of those things. And then if you want to kind of turn your desks so that you're with each other, and then we'll get started in just a minute. Okay, so 2 to 3 people, and then come grab those 3 things.
Equal amount of
Oh, just one thing, and then here, don't give it. But double check that the pen works. Never.
Go back here.
And if you want a different one too, you're more than. All right.
I'll go here.
Guys have a brew, Doctor? Thank you. Does everybody have a group? Are you with them? Just to make sure. We can join them. It's okay if it's bigger. We also have one back there. If you two want to team up, that would work. Not to force green on you. All right. If it doesn't work, come grab another one. You just toss that one and grab another one.
Toss it. Get out.
Not in me.
Yeah.
Woo! Nice work. Okay. Is everybody with a group? Everyone said? Okay. So I have some questions for you as a group. And I want you to pick one person who's going to write your answer on your board. And then you're going to be holding it up at the end of each round. Okay? So I want to preface this. By saying it's okay if you don't know the answer. That's the whole point. You're here, and you'll know the answers by the end of the semester. This is more just for fun, and it's often comical, so that's completely fine. If you don't know the answer, make your best guess or write something fun. I'm fine with you, okay? So I'm gonna give you a question, and then I'll give you like 30 seconds as a group. Come up with your answer, write it down, and then we'll hold them up and see what we got, okay? All right, so here we go. Number 1, and again, don't worry if you don't know. That's okay. Number 1. Masters and Johnson were who? Who were Masters and Johnson? Make your best guess if you don't know. I give you like 30 seconds. Yeah, your best guess if you don't know, and then you're going to hold it up in a second. Okay. Everybody got an answer? All right, hold them up. Let's see what we got. Okay, a brand, famous person, two old dead white dudes. Researchers, right? Was that one?
His master's Asian.
Okay.
Oh, Johnson name for.
I'm gonna remember that. All right, sexuality scientists, researchers. Okay, they're probably two of the most famous sex researchers that are around, right? One is a white dude. All right, very nice. All right, this one you have a 50-50 chance, true or false, right? 50-50, right? Okay, a woman creates one egg per month on average, true or false? A woman creates one egg per month on average, true or false?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay, hold them up. What do you got? Okay, I got false, false, true, false, false, false. It is false. And I heard someone say women are born with all the eggs they will ever have, but they mature and release one on average. A little bit of a trick, but sorry about that. All right, next one of my personal favorites here. If your doctor asked you to point to your corona, what would you point to? If your doctor asked you to point to your corona, what would you point to?
I was saying that. Sexuality.
So great. All right, everyone got an answer? Hold them up. Vagina, head, top of the penis, butt, vagina, something down there. It is the tip of the penis. So,
How's that going?
next time somebody asks you if you want to correct and clarify. Okay, tip of the penis. All right. Okay. All right, staying with male anatomy, right? What is the most common penis size when erect? Most common and most typical, or average penis size when erect? All right, hold them up. What do we got? 6, 5.5, 5, 5 to 6, 5.4, 5 to 6, 5.5. Then you really close, 5.6, 5.6. So between 5 to 7 inches on average is the typical common male penis size. Good. All right. So next one, number 5. How many sperm do men produce each day on average? How many sperm?
So.
All right, are we ready? All right, let's hold them up. What do we got? Millions, millions, a few million, 12,000, 2,000, 2,500, too much, 2,000, 300 million. Every day. Okay, this one's kind of random, right? True or false, right? Cornflakes, the cereal, Okay, cornflakes were developed to lower sex drive and stifle masturbation. Like that's too random to be false. Cornflakes and graham crackers were both developed to make people less likely to masturbate. We'll talk about that later. When we finish. Next time you eat graham crackers, you can think of that, or cornflakes. Okay. Okay, number 7. We have 13 total. Number 7. The capacity for sexual response is present at what age? The capacity for sexual response becomes present at what age? Pick an age.
When you vividly remember. That was like,
Okay, we got 6, 11 to 16, 4, 10 to 12, 14, 10, 9, before birth. Before birth. So on ultrasounds with little boys, you can often see them having interaction. It starts that early.
yes, like a bond.
Number 8. Usually people know this one way too quickly. If a man withdraws before he ejaculates, the woman will not get pregnant. True or false? Yeah. I think I can all say, oh no, let's just go. False. My brother and his wife and his father. I can do math at their wedding, right? Okay, all right. False, right? There's a lot of pre-ejaculate, right, which can contain sperm and will get pregnant from that. So that will be definitely false. Okay. All right. True or false? Again, a woman is pregnant once an egg has been fertilized by a sperm. A woman is pregnant once an egg has been fertilized by a sperm. True or false? Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
True or false? False. True, false, true. Okay, false. That is an important step, but it still has to implant into the uterus. That's what I was trying to say. One more step. Okay, all right, we have a few more. Again, true, false. Okay, HIV can be transmitted through contact with saliva. True or false? Like spit, saliva or spit.
I'll go.
False, true, false, true. Okay, false. Saliva is not one of the 4 fluids. There's one exception there. So it's kind of a very specific scenario, right? So the only way that saliva would transmit HIV is if you had an open cut that was bleeding in your mouth, and so did the person you were kissing. In that case, because blood is present, it could happen. But saliva is not one of the fluids that transmits. So your sister was correct, right? Or friend or sister's right. Okay. All right, a couple more. Number 11. What is the average age that people lose their virginity? Regardless of orientation. Average age. 22. This is all fine. All right, hold on. 16, 15, 11. Oh my goodness. 16, 17, 15, 17. All right. So 16. 16 to 17. Oh, my daughter's at 11. He's getting younger. But 16 to 17. They play a few more times. Two more. Okay. What percentage, you're giving me a number, a percentage. What percentage of sexually active people between the ages of 18 and 25, just kind of qualifying, have an STI or an STD? What percentage of sexually active people have an STI?
Yeah, but like one I was that one everyone got enough to
No, I think.
All right, let's hold them up. 70, 35, 20, 45, 20, 60, and 30. That's 1 in 4, so 25%. Thank goodness it's not that high. I don't know, one of the others. 1 in 4. Of course we do it. Okay. Last one. Last question for fun. How long after intercourse can a sperm stay alive inside a woman's body? Oh. How long? All right, what do we got? 2 to 3 days, 2 days, okay, 7 to 14, 5 days, 2 to 3, 5 days. 5 days. Those little sperms that last. Those little sperms, those are 300 million sperms. If you want to bring those up, if you want to bring them back up for me, you can put your asks back. Okay. Yeah. All right. Perfect. So again, those are all things that we're going to learn about. So don't worry if you didn't know them. That's the point. That's why you're here. That's why we're here. Do I have everyone set? Okay. So again, I hope that by the time this class is done, that this is a little bit higher, right? And I also hope that you feel a little more comfortable with your sexuality too, right? Or at least the knowledge of sexuality. Okay. So what we'll do from here is we'll look at a bunch of different places and times around the world. And I'm not going to say a lot about each one, but I do want to give you like one main thing from each time and era. And what you'll see, and I've tried to, what I've done in the beginning is give you a map. So you kind of have an area or an idea of the area or region of the world. And then each of these kind of progresses closer to today, right? And that's how they're arranged and organized. But they each have like a thought or a practice or a belief, things that have contributed to our modern sexuality. We're going to focus mainly on sexuality in the US, which we'll talk more about next time. So starting in the ancient Mediterranean, so we're looking at Egypt, the Greek culture, Roman culture. In ancient Egypt, so these are mostly pictures for you with just a tiny bit of information. Ancient Egypt is credited with inventing male circumcision, right? A very common practice within ancient Egypt. And is very different from today. Okay, so when do people typically get circumcised now? Like, when is it a male? Yes.
At birth.
At birth, right? At birth, or like within a day or two after. Typically. In ancient Egypt culture, this was a rite of passage for teenage boys. So teenage boys, a couple of you just went like, right? Teenage boys would go up in front of the entire like area, the entire town or village or whatnot. They would go up and it was performed with a stone blade in front of everyone as a rite of passage. It was thought to grant you access to the ancient mysteries of the world, right? So you can be grateful for when we do it now, right? But they're credited with inventing circumcision, very heavy, like male-dominated culture. See a lot of sexuality in our records and like hieroglyphic, like things that we've deciphered over the years. Also a big value on what we call procreation. Anyone know what is procreation? What does it mean to procreate? Yeah. Yeah, right, to have kids, right? and typically a man and a woman having sex to have children. And what you see is you see that a lot in history, that like cultures value procreation, males and females having sex to have children. And it's changed a little bit as we get toward now, but that was really common in the past. Greek culture is credited with being very liberal, right? Kind of has this stereotype of homosexuality being common. Interestingly, though, it wasn't viewed as being homosexual. There's a lot of like male sexuality in early Greek culture, but it was more, they called it pederasty. It was sexual contact between an adult man and a teenage boy. And it was thought that they were almost like a mentor to that person, and they would return the favor of mentoring them with sexual favors, right? But it wasn't viewed as gay or homosexual. It was viewed as again, kind of a rite of passage. Yeah.
Also, I don't think that kind of like, that was also kind of weird about this is that like, you think like in other countries, like usually the homosexual stuff is like stigmatized. And it was just a receiver.
Yeah.
It was just a receiver.
You're right. That's exactly all it was, right? It was between two people. It wasn't even overtly sexual as much as you were thanking them for their mentorship and guidance through sexual favors, right? Typically like oral sex or anal sex. So we also see an interesting thing here where we separated love and sex for the first time. A lot of gods and goddesses within this culture. And so what we have is Aphrodite, who was the goddess of sex, and then Eros, the god of love. So kind of separating love and sex for the first time. A lot of sexuality in this culture, but again, not quite to the stereotype that we have of that, like homosexuality. It was viewed very, very differently. In Roman culture, right, what we see is a lot of like marriage and sex being related to economics. In this culture, people got married and had sex with each other and had children as a way to improve their economic standing, not because of love. And we see that a lot in like some of the shows that are highlighting this era of time. Rather than being about love, it was like arranged marriages for economic purposes or to advance like a genetic line. And so we see a lot of that in this period of time and in this culture. Kind of interesting random little thing for you. This little coin right here. Oh, look, I have a pointer, right? I was just like way too excited about that. Doubles as like a mosquito killer in my house, right? As a pointer. These little bronze tokens were found much later after the fact, and they were called spintria. I'll write that up here. And they were thought to be like a currency for paying prostitutes, right? It's something that we discovered way later. So we see a lot of sexuality, but it's very like niched around economic growth and economic standing and so on. And again, still to improve your social standing within a culture or a society. As we move to a different part of the world, moving toward ancient Asia, so India and China, and again, for reference, India, probably most known for these two things, the idea of karma and the Kama Sutra. Oh, I forgot to bring, I have an example. I'll try to remember to bring next. Karma. What do you think of when you hear the word karma? You have like a definition in your mind of what that means? Yeah. Okay,
Like
something bad. What goes around comes around?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like kind of like love and stuff. It's like whatever you do can come back,
Yeah,
come back to you. Like if you do a lot of good things, a lot of good things will happen to you. If you do
Right.
A lot of bad things, a lot of bad things will happen to you.
yeah. And it doesn't always work out right that way. It'd be nice if life was a little more like karmic in that way, but that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Well, a lot of times it's also like used to like be like, oh, something bad happened and I can't do anything about it. It must have been something bad in the previous life.
Okay.
And I can't escape that now.
Yeah.
And whatever I do now is probably gonna win the next life.
And in this culture, karma had a lot to do with previous lives and future lives. And karma specifically related to sexuality, right? Like relationships could lead to good or bad karma, and your pursuit of children, good or bad karma. So we see this kind of what goes around comes around, fate and destiny being a really big part of this like culture and cultural beliefs. The Kama Sutra, probably one of the most famous sex manuals. It was the first sex manual that was released. It had around 400 BC or so was when it was released. I won't ask you that, but just, for reference. But it had stuff of like the different types of kisses, how to be a good wife, how to be a good husband, moral guidance for love and sex. It was like this first manual to be released with very graphic images portraying different positions, different types of kisses, different ways to make love. Very heavy focus again on procreation, having children between a man and a woman. In China, right, kind of same area, similar area of the world around the same period of time, we look at a big concept coming out of here of yin and yang, right, of balance. There's really like very heavy focus on the Tao, or the basic unity between things, basic unity of energy. So what we have is yin, which is that female yielding passive energy. And then we have yang, which is the positive, strong, assertive male energy. And through sex, you could blend those energies together to create balance. So we have this, again, very male, female, very heterosexually focused, but uniting male and female energy through sexuality to create a balance in your life and a balance in the world. And so kind of the big concept there. Again, trying to just highlight like one thing from each culture. And lots of pictures. I like pictures. Early Christianity, as we move a little bit closer to now, Christianity began as a small sect following the teachings of Jesus. Now, we know very little specifically about Jesus's specific views on sexuality, but more like what we have in the Bible. And kind of the main takeaway of early Christianity was that sex was sinful, even between a man and a woman. Like, not as sinful once you're married, but it was sinful. It was something you don't talk about, something you don't do. And your goal was to overcome the desires of the flesh, that giving into the desires of the flesh, giving into sex, made you weak in a way, right? And we have terms like celibacy and chastity becoming really, really like prominent. Celibacy, historically, a little different now, was defined as being unmarried. Because if you weren't married, you weren't having sex. You didn't have sex before marriage back then, right? It wasn't something that was done, or at least talked about. Currently defined as not engaging in sexual behavior. So people were chaste, or they practiced chastity. They were sexually pure. They abstained from sex. And they followed very strict rules, right? The original sin was giving into lust, right? And so kind of avoiding anything sinful or sexual and trying to overcome the desires of the flesh. Couple more, and before we stop for today, the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages, as we move forward a little bit, we see a lot of influence of the church. So now we're in Europe during the Middle Ages, and we see that the church played a really big role. And we got this interesting split between two very contradictory images of women. Women were either viewed as being Eve or Mary. There was like nothing in between. You were one or the other. Like Eve, who conversed with the devil for the ruin of man and lost grace, or Mary, who conversed with Gabriel for the salvation of man and preserved her grace. So women were either like sinful and lustful and conversing with the devil, or they were pure and chaste and conversing with God or with like Gabriel, right? So it's this kind of interesting split that happened, and this played a really big part in things like the witchcraft trials, right? And all of the witch hunts that happened at this time. Women who were sexual in nature were often burned at the stake for being in like cohorts with the devil, right? Sexuality was viewed as very sinful, and you were this kind of bad person who was ruled by the devil. Now, I found something really random, and because I had to watch it, I'm going to share it with you, right? I was trying to find a video clip of this, like talking about this, and apparently there's a video game. I don't know why I'm sharing this with you, but there's a video game, and it's Eve versus Mary, and it's like 12 seconds, but it was memorable, so I'm going to show it to you, right? And so I put it in my slide. Eve versus Mary, sinful versus pure, right? Okay, it's really brief, but I'm sharing it with you anyway. Here we go. Right, your life is complete now, right? So I found that and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't just keep that to myself, right? So it was like this contradictory image of like the evil, sinful snake, right? Versus the saint with the baby, right? Random, but you're welcome, right? Complete your day there for you, right? Oh, again, man, I'm just kidding. So we see a lot of like Christianity and like the role that played in the church and so on in the Middle Ages, very, very prominent. As we move into the Middle East, right, around the same time, a little bit later, we're kind of getting closer to today. We see a lot of things related to Islam, the beliefs based on the beliefs of Muhammad, right, kind of a main prophet. We get a term called eunuch that comes out of this era, right? I always think of Lord Varys from like Game of Thrones whenever I hear eunuch, or Johnny Depp says it a lot in Pirates as well. But a eunuch is a man who has either had his penis removed, or more commonly, they've had their testicles removed. So their testicles, which contain all of the sperm, and that way they can't get women pregnant, right? At the time, eunuchs guarded the concubines or the prostitutes of the sultans. And so by removing their penis or removing their testicles, they weren't able to then have sex with those concubines, right? It was a term that came out of this era or out of this time, along with the Holy Book of Islam. We see a lot of very rigid gender roles within this culture, within the Islamic Middle East. And that's persisted really into today, that women have to hide their physical appearance and their beauty, right? A lot of like male, female only, procreation being the main focus. And then again, the term eunuch kind of coming out of this time as well. The Renaissance, Reformation, and Enlightenment. I feel like I'm in AP European history the second I put this slide up here. But the Renaissance was a time of rebirth. And with rebirth and artistic thought and joy came a lot of sexuality. Sexuality was a big part of people being happier and having this joy in life. And we move away from something called asceticism. We practiced a lot of asceticism in like the era before the Renaissance, which was like being bland foods, right? Not doing anything that's pleasurable. The Renaissance was a period of pleasure and joy and happiness and like forward momentum. And we see this a lot in history, that we get like a very backward era followed by a very progressive era. And then we go backward and then progressive. It's kind of like this back and forth that we see a lot through time. And this was a very, very positive, very like progressive period of time, followed by a little bit stricter, right? The Reformation and people like Martin Luther and Protestantism, we went backward a little bit, kind of like bringing everything in a little bit tighter, trying not to have too much sexuality. You could only have sex if it was from a desire to have children, right? Again, kind of back to the idea of procreation. And then after that, back to positivity. So kind of back and forth throughout our history. Where in the Enlightenment, sex was pleasurable for pleasure rather than just to have children, right? Because literally before like 1700, that was the only reason people like would have intercourse, was to have children, right? And here now we're starting to say, oh, it could be pleasurable outside of that, and maybe even its own goal in itself. Yeah. Protestantism, so being like a Protestant, which was Martin Luther's like religion that he started. What was that?
That no sex or?
So they only for the reason of having children between a man and a woman within marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, which was again like all the way common all the way up until 1700 was kind of the norm. Okay. Sure. All right. I'm gonna do this one and I'm gonna stop after this so I can take like attendance and stuff. This is the last one I'll cover for today. And then next time, as I mentioned, we're gonna watch a video on 20th century sexuality. Really fascinating like era of time. But as we get closer to today, we have the Victorian era, named after Queen Victoria, who took the throne in 1837 to 1901. And this was a period of like restraint, propriety. Everyone was proper. The bodice or the corset kind of embodies this period of time. Tighten it all down, hide it all, right? Everything very proper, very like repressed. Women were viewed as asexual. Like women were not allowed to be sexual. even within a marriage, it was almost like this double standard that was created. And it was expected that there was distance between husbands and wives. Like it was not encouraged to have sex. This was very much like a backward period of time. And the most ironic part about all of that is because it was so backward, prostitution flourished, right? So it was outwardly people were proper and not being sexual, but inwardly there was still all that desire. And so prostitution took off,
Yeah.
became its own like huge industry during that time.
That's like, I think like the best way you can say it is that I feel like when you repress things a lot, when you repress things, it's
Yeah.
like, it makes the release a lot more violent.
That's fair, right? And there was a lot of like very repressed sexuality here, which led to a lot of consequences. I think what's really interesting about this era of time, like I said, the bodice or the corset very much symbolizes it, but it progressed like all the way through the early 1900s. And if you watch any old film, I think it was all the way up till 1950, you couldn't show a husband and wife sleeping in the same bed as each other on TV or in a movie. Husbands and wives, if you believed like media, slept in separate beds, right? Oh, okay. If you want to just that's okay, right? So what we see is a lot of like, even between husband and wife, this separation. And it always reminds me of this picture, my partner's grandparents, very much out of this era, like born in the early 1900s. We went to visit them, gosh, like 15 years ago at this point. And we went in their room and we were staying overnight and we walk in and that's their bedroom, separate beds. And I was like, is it because I thought it was because we were two women. I was like, are they separating us on purpose? That's hardcore. They bought beds to separate us. I was like, that's a lot, right? And so we texted her parents and they're like, no, when we stayed there too, it was two separate beds, right? Those were their beds that they had when they were younger and just got married. It wasn't encouraged for husband and wife to even share a bed. That's how repressed the sexuality was during this era. And the biggest threat to sexuality was like a random thing. The bicycle. Bicycles were scandalous, like a bike, like a bike, right? Not like a motorcycle, but a bike, right? Not even motorized, right? Just a simple bike. It was said that once a woman sat on a bike, she would never be the same. That she would never want her husband again because it was so sexual, right? That's how repressed this period of time was. The bicycle was the biggest threat you could imagine to sexuality. And they'll talk about that a tiny bit in the documentary, but it's just such a like hallmark of this period of time that we were that uncomfortable with the idea of people having sex with each other. So what we'll do next class is we'll pick up with sexuality in America, and we'll talk a little bit about that and we'll watch a documentary. It's about 45 minutes, so it'll take us most of next class. But I want to stop here so I have plenty of time to take attendance, get your cards if you need them. And I forgot one thing. I talked about note taking. If anyone in here is willing to be a note taker, we do have some people who have requested a note taker. So if anyone's willing to do that, if you could like chat with me after, that would be great. Otherwise, I'll give you a minute if you want to pack up. I'll grab the roster and see who's here, and then we'll call it a day. Yes.